This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your source for the latest Iowa ag news headlines right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Tuesday, February 25th of 2025, and we're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, I will be joined by Kenan Layden of agmarket.net for our closing markets. Lots to discuss in the ag marketplace here today. But first, I'm joined by Adrienne Drescher. She is a sales rep with Syngenta, covers Western Iowa here in the state. And we talk about a whole host of topics going into the growing season, including the potential for heavy insect pressure coming out of a mild winter.
Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Adrienne Drescher. She is with Syngenta and located here in the state of Iowa. Adrienne, could you tell me, please, your role at Syngenta and where you're located at here in Iowa?
So I am located in Boone, Iowa, and I am a retail sales rep for Syngenta. I've been covering West Central Iowa for over 10 years now.
Adrienne, we've had an interesting winter. We haven't had much snow. We haven't had much snow cover. What does that mean for what we're setting up for the early part of the growing season?
You kind of wonder if, hey, we're going to have an early kind of season. But another thing that you start thinking about is what are we going to have for bugs? Usually a light winter goes pretty easy on those insects. And then as we start hearing some chatter in the marketplace, there's definitely been an increased discussion and, hey, I'm going to have some more corn acres. So what does that do for our corn rootworm management? Especially if we're going to be having heavier acreage that way, probably need to make sure that our growers that are out there are assessing what their corn rootworm management plan is.
And it is as simple as that, isn't it? That a milder winter just doesn't get rid of as many bugs as we would expect when we have those hard freezes for those long periods of time. Exactly.
And, talking to some different guys who are doing tiling, as you go farther north, we've had some colder weather, so maybe we've had some of that deeper frost, 12 to 16 inches. Talking with some people around here that were doing some work at their place, hey, they only had 4 inches. So we've got some snow cover coming, but definitely is going to be a lot easier on that, and we won't have near as much kill, and it's just easier on them to survive through the winter that way.
So let's say those bugs are hardy, they make their way through the winter this year. What should we be thinking about from the insecticide side of things when we're getting ready for the growing season?
Yeah, so from the Syngenta perspective, we've got a product called Force. So we've got it in a granular type product if somebody's got an insecticide box. And then it also comes with a liquid system for Force Evo. So super, super good corn rootworm control. And you can do it in either way that works for you, either the granular insecticide box or that you can plug that into your liquid system.
I know Syngenta has been really focusing on fungicides and talking about the importance of fungicides. I actually had the chance to go to the North American Crop Protection headquarters this fall in North Carolina. That was a big topic of discussion. And kind of the way that we discussed it, and I want to know your perspective of it, thinking of it as almost a insurance policy for your crops and kind of having that coverage through the season. Is that a good analogy?
I think that's not a terrible analogy. I think it's something that, at this point in time, we wouldn't say, hey, I'm just going to wait and see if I need herbicide, or I'm just going to wait and see if I need to buy seed. The way that these next level fungicides like Trivapro and Miravis Neo have been performing, they're providing an ROI year after year. We have plant health, we've got standability that we can rely on, and then when these diseases that have been coming in, tar spot, southern rust that we got hit with really hard last year, which, I would never have thought that because tar spot was the talker. I think it's something that we got to plan on having to, we've put all this investment into the crop to a certain point, and if we give up on it, hey, you've invested to maybe get 280 and you've given up and saying, okay, it's just going to be 220 or 190 or even less than that.
Is there more widespread use of fungicide right now than even just 5 years ago?
I would say last year and the year before, definitely. Weather permit, in that area up in northern Iowa and southern Minnesota didn't see near as much. The crop wasn't there with all the rain that we got. There was a lot of increase. I would say right now, as I'm looking at my grower base, there's more guys who are doing a wait and see approach. But I think the the potential benefit that you get from treating your crop with fungicide is far better than if you just wait and see.
And then I know also as well, storing corn herbicide has been a big part of Syngenta's portfolio here in the last couple of years. I know that it is still relatively new, but what have those report cards been coming back looking like? How have farmers reacted to what they've seen?
So actually last year was the first year for Storin, and it's been phenomenal. I was thinking, we'll see just a kind of slow uptick in it. Anybody who uses Storin has been just phenomenally happy with it, and telling their friends and telling their neighbors, and it's been just taking off, and a lot of people are using it because they realize that, hey, we cannot rely on a post herbicide only to control these problem weeds, specifically water hemp that we have. We have to have a complex, robust pre-situation, which is what Storin brings.
Adrienne, is there anything else you'd like to let us know about for our Iowa growers or Iowa listeners when it comes to what you're working with at Syngenta or what you're thinking about going into the new growing season?
Well, I think it's, we got to continue to think about how do we grow bushels. That's where the growers are going to be making their money at, and how do we do that in a good, profitable way. So I think we got to make sure that we're starting with good herbicides that are doing what we ask them to do, the service that the branded products come, especially the Syngenta products come with, and then looking at, hey, not what's just the cheapest thing, but what's the best thing that's going to get me the yield that I need to be able to continue to farm profitably.
She is Adrienne Drescher with Syngenta, my guest here today. Adrienne, thanks so much for the time. Appreciate it, and have a great rest of the Agribusiness Showcase.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Adrienne Drescher of Syngenta for joining today's show. It is time now for the closing markets. I will be joined by Kenan Layden of agmarket.net in just a moment. But first, a word from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soybean Checkoff.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
You're watching Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and it is time now for closing markets. I'm joined by Kenan Layden of agmarket.net. Kenan, what was the story in the trade in the grains here today?
Grain markets opened up really negatively today and were able to claw their way back here towards the end of the day with some of the front month soybean contracts even closing up slightly. But corn took a hit today and wheat took a hit today. Some of that news could be good rains in Argentina, which placed early pressure, or good forecasted rains in Argentina, which placed some early pressure on that corn soy complex. And then lack of cold weather and moisture coming into some of those winter wheat growing areas really had wheat depressed today, but they were able to claw back slightly. And, so it was not a great day, but maybe a more positive close to the day.
Also, what are we watching on the side of just the overall markets and some of that consumer sentiment data that we've received here recently?
Yeah, so, that consumer confidence came in today and it was below the forecasted expectations. There's been some talk that, there might be a global slowdown. Oil was down today. Stocks were pressured today. The Mag 7 has had like a 10% drawdown about from its highs, and maybe just a lack of liquidity in the markets and some slowdown overall in some of those more speculative outside markets.
And then there's also just a lot of uncertainty right now, which is continuing because, Kenan, when we look at the calendar, getting close to that March 1st deadline, which is when it was pushed back for the original implementation of those tariffs against Canada and Mexico. So is that still creating some fears in the marketplace here this week?
Yeah, tariffs are something that until they're there, it's hard to know if they will be or not. The market may be reacting to that a little bit here negatively. Hogs were down once we get into the livestock market, which probably are affected the most by those tariffs, just because so much of that pork supply goes to Mexico. So market probably is putting some, risk premium into that supposed tariffs that are going to be implemented March 1st, or I heard March 4th. I don't know the exact day, but we'll see how those play out. And if they don't get put into place, you could maybe see some some of this, risk that was taken out of the market, put back into the market and be supportive. But, something that's always going to be a risk here moving forward, those reciprocal tariffs, if tariffs are implemented by the current presidential administration.
And then you alluded to it a little bit there, but let's focus on the other side of the ag marketplace, the livestock complex. How did we trade in cattle and hogs today?
Yeah, great day for cattle. Cattle had a few great winning days here in a row. Some of that could be, a confirmed screw case in Mexico, which may lead to potential border shutdown or some less imports into the cattle industry, making supplies tighter within the U.S. Also, cash has been very strong in as far as cattle go. Box beef, choice and select were both up today, which was good to see. They kind of bounced off some of that lower end range they were at, and feeder cattle index has been strong. And so if cash remains strong, it's with tight fundamentals in that cattle complex, it's something that you could really see, this market continue to climb. Managed money continues to be long in that cattle complex. But on the hog end, like I said, tariffs were kind of weighing in on some of that. The hog chart doesn't look very good, fell below one of its moving averages today on some of the contracts. But, pork cutout values and stuff will be something to watch there, and the demand there for pork.
He is Kenan Layden with agmarket.net, my guest here on Tuesday. Kenan, what's the best way for our viewers to get in touch for more marketing information?
Yeah, check us out on the web at agmarket.net and find a broker in your area.
Kenan, thanks so much for the time. Always appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you to Kenan Layden of agmarket.net for joining today's show for Closing Markets. Let's take a look at how the numbers closed today, and you can find market information anytime under the Markets tab of our website at iowaagnet.com.
March corn closes down 2 3/4 at $4.79 3/4. March soybeans up 2 1/4 at $10.31 1/4. March soybean meal up $2 at $2.9380. March soybean oil down 26 cents at $45.44. Chicago wheat down 6 1/4 at $5.72 3/4. Minneapolis wheat down 8 1/2 at $6.13 even. Kansas City hard red wheat down 4 3/4 at $5.91 3/4. And March oats up 20 cents at $3.74 even. On the Merc, April live cattle up 62 cents at $195.72. March feeder cattle up $1.92 at $274.22. April lean hogs down 82 cents at $86.57. April pork cutout unchanged at $96.10. Class 3 milk down 28 cents at $18.73.
That wraps up Closing Markets for today and brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can follow us on social media at Facebook, X, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can listen to our morning, midday, and closing market podcast at Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and Podbean. Also, don't forget to check out our daily Iowa Ag Matters podcast. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. For Riley Smith, Dustin Huffman, and Andy Peterson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.